News coming in right now. Enforcement Directorate files affidavit before the Supreme Court opposing interim bail to Arvind Kejriwal. ED says right to campaign for an election is neither a fundamental right nor a constitutional right and not even a legal right. ED says to ED's knowledge, no political leader has been granted interim bail for campaigning purposes, even though he is not the contesting candidate in this case. It says it will create a precedent which would permit all unscrupulous politicians to commit crimes, avoid investigation under the garb of elections. Enforcement Directorate has said that a politician can claim no special status higher than that of an ordinary citizen. So the Enforcement Directorate, which is slated to file a charge sheet tomorrow in the court, in fact, terming Arvind Kejriwal as an accused as the kingpin of the alleged excise policy scam case, has now filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying that the right to campaign for elections is no legal or fundamental right. It will set the wrong sort of precedent. It will create a precedent which would then permit all unscrupulous politicians to commit crimes, avoid investigation under the garb of election. The Enforcement Directorate in its affidavit has said a politician can claim no special status higher than that of an ordinary citizen. So the ED there vociferously objecting to any interim bail being granted to Arvind Kejriwal by the Apex Court for electioneering purposes. ED says, to our knowledge, no political leader has been granted interim bail for campaigning, even though he's not the contesting candidate. So the Enforcement Directorate saying Arvind Kejriwal is not a candidate in these Lok Sabha elections, so we don't know why he should be granted interim bail for campaigning purposes. Srishti Ojha, my colleague, breaking this first here on India Today, joining us for more on this. Srishti, tell us more what's in that affidavit which has been filed by the Enforcement Directorate.
Well, this affidavit has come in one day before the Supreme Court is set to consider the question of whether interim bail for campaigning should be granted to Arvind Kejriwal. ED has during the hearing also opposed any form of interim bail, but now they've specifically filed an affidavit stating that right to campaign on grounds of which Arvind Kejriwal is seeking interim bail is neither a fundamental right nor a constitutional right or not even a legal right. According to ED, as of now, as per their knowledge, no political leader has been granted interim bail in such a manner, and therefore no special concession should be granted to Arvind Kejriwal just because he's the Chief Minister of Delhi, especially because it will set a very wrong precedent for the layman and also other political leaders, because it will in a way permit all the unscrupulous politicians to commit crimes and avoid investigation. According to ED, why create a special category? Why create two separate classes where there's ordinary people on one hand and politicians who can get out of jail only for campaigning on the other hand? So according to ED, no such special status can be claimed by a politician higher than that of an ordinary citizen. Tomorrow we'll see what the Supreme Court has to say and whether or not Arvind Kejriwal gets any relief from the top court.
Right.
Back to you.
Srishti Ojha, will be tracking that case very closely when it comes up before the Supreme Court tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us with this latest update.